All right, so today I'm going to talk a little bit about the social media quarreling, online quarreling, fighting with each other. So this is why words carry weight. So if somebody is posting something online, for example, and the state of being that they are in is not so great, they're angry, they're negative, this is what is being projected out. They hit that enter button and it gets projected out to their friends. So essentially, their friends can pick up on that energy. It's not quite the same as if I were talking to you one-on-one, because you would see me making eye contact, you would see my nonverbal communication with you, body language, all that kind of stuff. But when you are online, you'll notice that people fight with each other. People fight with each other all the time. Why is this? Are we just ingrained to be in this argumentative, fighting mode all the time, where we always have to be right? So there's a few things that right now, in particular, people are fighting about, quarreling about online. So one is the social distancing thing going on right now. Everybody is angry at everybody else for not following procedures, or they're angry at their governor or somebody for closing down parks or closing down this and that and shutting stores. So there's this just arguments galore about who's right, who's wrong, my opinion counts, yours doesn't, I win, you suck, whatever. Then there's the other fight about essential versus non-essential businesses shutting, what should be essential, what should be non-essential. So everybody's fighting. Then there's the big one, the government, the control by the government. There are people who think that the government is trying to control us, and with the social distancing, quarantining measures, shutting down parks, not being able to drive, go for a leisurely drive and things like that. This creates fights. This creates so much tension online. You know it because you've probably participated in it. So what gives us that compulsion to fight back all the time? So I'm going to talk about something called, and this is something mentioned in the book Reality Transurfing, which I mention a lot, pendulums. And I've mentioned pendulums before. So these are energetic thought structures that you can feed into, where people think alike, act alike, speak alike, everybody's thinking the same way. So if you think of like a sporting event where everybody's cheering, everybody is acting alike, doing the wave, doing the same thing, responding in the same manner. The media is a pendulum, the government is a pendulum, but fighting against these things, fighting against the control of stuff like the government or the media, is also a pendulum. So we have pendulums all around us. We have these thought structures that try to suck us in. And we know this from like the news tries to suck us in, all the negative stuff. But if we're not careful, we're not aware, we feed into it unknowingly. And when we feed into it unknowingly, we get caught up in the moment. And this is exactly what happens online when people post things and we feel a compulsion to fight back, to resist, to argue, because these heightened states of negative emotions is actually feeding the pendulum where it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. So first of all, you see something online, you see a friend of yours post something and it makes you angry. So you get a lot of emotions within you. This is the pendulum trying to suck you into this. It's like a succubus, okay? And it's lurking around and it's trying to suck you into these different thought structures, where the collective thought structures of people. And the more people feed into it, the more argumentative, the more nasty people become online. So we feed into these thought structures for a few main reasons. The overarching reason is the ego, of course, our loving ego. But the subdivisions under the ego is usually fear, acceptance, self-validation, and past hurt or regret of some sort. So these are three main reasons why somebody might feed into an ego, maybe looking for status validation, like I mentioned. Also, words. Sticks and stones can break your bones, but words will never hurt you. That's BS, because words can hurt you. See, our thoughts carry energy, thought energy, right? Feeding into these structures. But words are the transmitter of that thought energy. Therefore, words can also carry energy. So it's not just verbal and nonverbal, but it can be through online, it can be texting or typing. I mean, the thing with online, like texting, I'm sure you have witnessed this, is you get a text and you interpret it completely different, totally miscommunication than what the sender was trying to portray. So it depends on your state of being as the sender, as you're sending something. What is your emotion like as you're sending it? What are you feeling? And when you receive a text, your state of being. Are you in a high state where you're happy? Are you in a low state where you're angry, depressed, where you can interpret the message completely wrong? So it's basically up to a person's interpretation. But when you are feeding into, when somebody's posting something online, a lot of times they don't even realize the energy behind it and how it's going to affect other people. And this, becomes a giant thought structure. So just be aware that when you're communicating online or you're talking online, that has energy to it. That has energy to it. So check out your state of being. If you're in like this angry state and you type something up, post it on Facebook, Instagram, whatever platform you prefer, realize that negative energy, that emotion of anger can transfer outward, okay? Can transfer it outward. People pick up on that and they want to feed into it because they start feeling angry. They start feeling heightened sense of emotion too. And it becomes just stronger and stronger and stronger, and it just like envelops you. So something to be aware of, okay? Words carry weight. Don't think they do. I mean, words themselves, they are neutral, but it's the emotion behind the words, okay? It's the thought energy behind the words that gives them power. That gives them power. So just another little tidbit to watch out for. So there are a few ways to, I'm not saying you shouldn't pay attention to what's going on in the world, because you should. But there are ways of getting around these thought structures that really try to, what they do, they suck you in, and then you're not present anymore. And it starts to filter or distort your reality in a way that is not your own, okay? So it starts to distort it in light of this pendulum, okay, where you are suddenly thinking along the same lines of this pendulum, because the heightened states of emotion, you're not yourself anymore in a way. It's almost like you're just being sucked in by this thing, and you're not thinking for yourself anymore. You're not aware of yourself anymore. You're kind of just like in a zombie state. So a way to get around it is, number one, you can social distance yourself from social media, from the news, from friends who are always trying to talk about this stuff and suck you in. So you can distance yourself a little bit, okay? Limit the amount of time you're spending on these platforms or with certain people, because these certain people are going to try to pull you in, okay? They're trying to pull you in. The second thing you can do is to observe. Get in your awareness point. So you can know what's going on without participating, without feeding into it. There's people who say, well, you have to feed into it. You have to feed into the news. You have to pay attention. You have to know what's going on. Of course you have to know what's going on, but you don't have to feed into it. You do not have to respond back on a political post or a post about one of these things that I mentioned, where people are arguing about control and things like that. You'll feel the impulse and the compulsion to do so, but that doesn't mean you have to. You always have the choice. So you can distance yourself And then you can just be an observer, just be aware, know what's going on in the world, know what's going on around you. But you do not have to feed into it, you do not have to participate. And the third, and probably the most fun one that a lot of people don't do to defeat a pendulum or help it dissipate, is to respond in a different kind of way. So respond in an unexpected sort of way. So these thought structures, they know that you're going to respond in a certain way. If somebody posted something negative, trying to stir up an argument or stir up confrontation or stir up other people's opinions, you know this is just going to lead to like an influx of just like people being nasty online, right? So the pendulum knows that you're going to respond in that way, that you're going to respond in an angry, nasty way or something like that. But if you respond in a unexpected way, a way out of loving kindness, whatever, then it's gonna throw the energy off kilter. It's gonna throw the energy off kilter, and eventually it will dissipate, or it just won't affect you. It won't affect you because you're not feeding into it. So at the end of the day, you know, I see so many different opinions online. And sometimes I get sucked into it, I will say, because your emotions kind of take over. You know, you have something on your mind and then somebody posts something like the opposite of what you believe, and you just get angry. You get angry and you want to fight with somebody, and it's just, we're human. But if you can recognize what these thought structures are and when they're actually happening, I mean, the news is an easy one. The media is an easy one to see, to recognize. I mean, it's pretty obvious. But there's other ones. Pay attention to the people around you. Pay attention to, you know, when on social media and things like that. Even advertising is a huge one too, huge platform. And but if you can recognize and be aware of these things when they're happening, then that is you being more aware of yourself, and you're better able to make decisions about whether you want to feed into it or whether you want to take a step back and just kind of observe it from afar, see what's going on around you, but don't step into it. Don't step into this bubble, this structure, okay? So you're observing, here's the structure, here's the thought energy, all the negative thought energy going on, but you're kind of sitting back and you're like, okay. You know, you're in a neutral, it's about neutrality, remaining awareness and neutrality. Those are the two things to remember, being aware and remaining neutral. If you can do those two things, then you can protect yourself from being just sucked into this, having this mental outlook that is like all gloom and doom for yourself. All gloom and doom for yourself, where you can remain stable, okay? Where you're just kind of sitting on the sidelines, watching what's going on, and that's it. That's it. That's all you have to do. So be aware, recognize it when it's happening, and I hope everyone has a great day. Let me know if you like this in the comments below. I would appreciate it so much. If you have not done so, subscribe to my channel. I put out a video every single morning, bridge the gap between Eastern medicine, reality creation, law of attraction, quantum physics, all kinds of interesting things, or I think it's interesting. So with that being said, have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow. Peace.